Hey everybody, how's it going? I've had a few viewer requests about using stuff other than antlers and copper nails to flint knap with, and what I'm going to try today, it's only the second time I've tried it, is a deer leg bone. Specifically, this is the metacarpal on the front leg, and we'll look into the details of this bone in just a minute. So I'm going to use a rock, and then I'm going to be using glass today, but remember you can always use flint. Keep in mind, this is really sharp. What we're trying to do is get rid of the big lip. We're actually going to end up with a fairly small piece of glass. And I'm doing it all in one direction, downward. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. I was getting that way anyway. But you see how much curve there is on this piece? Try to flatten that out as we go through the process. Okay, I think that's a good starter piece, so let's do a close-up. Okay, let's get started on this arrowhead from a glass bottle. Now, if you've done what I've done, then you've got a bevel. So you see the entire piece is sloping this way. So that means if we hit right here, it'll blow a flake this way. Okay, now normally we would use something like a copper bopper. Let me just show you for the sake of this. Okay, and it would take off a little bit. Let me just do one more just to show you. Okay, here's the flake, and here's the flake scar. Okay, so that's a copper bopper. If you're going to use a rock or a bone, you're going to have very, very good aim. I mean, this is like millimeter accuracy. Just hit down and in a little bit. Okay, now I'm not putting a lot of pressure. Not a lot of pressure at all. Okay, here's the flake. Here's the flake scar. That actually went further than the copper bopper. So I'm just going to do this all the way around this face. Okay, so I've gone around all of the edges, and you see we're still below center line, so I can continue striking into here. But first I'm going to rough it up. So you could use a stone. I'm going to use some grindstone. And if you go this way, okay, if you go away from your center line, it'll draw the center line closer this way. So I want to drive flakes this way, so I'm scraping this way. Excuse my dirty fingernails. Been working in the garden. Okay, this helps sturdy the platform. Platforms where you're striking. It also makes it a little easier to see the center line. See, it's like a white line. And it also keeps you from cutting yourself. Okay. So again, back to our stone. What I'm doing is, like right here, I'm hitting that platform, which will drive a flake this way. I mean, like a 0.5 millimeter accuracy. There we go. Now look at the reward though. It's a nice flake. Now we look at the piece, and you see that big flake scar right here? Alright, so I'm going to keep doing this, going around, and you notice here's the flake scar that I just took off. You notice how it's thinning it, and it's taking out, so to speak, that curve. If you can do fast and tight, it'll drive a flake further. See? That was fast and light. And look at the size of the flake scar. Okay, I know a lot of you are having a hard time getting your flake scars going all the way across. You're going to have to use percussion. This is called percussion when you tap it. And just find your platform. Okay, like right here, you see how it dips down? Find your platform, just hit, just barely, right there. Quick, fast, support the piece on your leg against a pad. Okay. See, that is a very respectable flake. Okay, this is not going to win any beauty contests, but you see very roughly I've gone around several times and I've just about removed all of the flat surface. Now, what we want to do is start driving flakes this way, so we have to bring this center line this way. To do that, we break pieces off this way, and that's where you're going to lose some of your width. So you take your stone, come back to our stone, and I'm going to go this way so that the flakes go this way, but we're not really making really pretty flakes. We're just kind of crushing this edge to bring the center line up. Once you get it going, once you get inroads, you can just keep going right next to the previous spot. Let me show you what's going on. So you see how it's brought the center line up here, so now I can drive flakes this way. But let me continue this all the way around carefully. Okay, super crude, but just see how my center line is now almost against this almost flat face. So now what we're going to do is braid it. Again, we're going to braid it this way so that we get the center line going this way, and we're going to take flakes this way in just a minute. Okay, I finished sanding, and you see it's a very, very obvious center line. The center line is just about to the edge. This is a fairly flat, smooth surface right here, and the flakes are going to want to go in and just stop. But my goal is to get rid of this somewhat curve right here, and in the meantime also start to thin it just a little bit, and again we're going to lose on our width. So take my stone, flip it this way, okay, here's where we are with this. You'll notice that I did not clear the whole face. And I'm not going to keep going around, because if you're an experienced flint knapper, you know that this rock has a lot of mass, and I feel terrible pressing my luck. I'm just afraid it's going to split. It's just going to crack, because this thing probably weighs at least, the better part of a pound, and this glass is so brittle. Okay, so the whole point of this video was to see if I can use a deer bone, this is a leg bone, instead of a deer antler to pressure flake an arrowhead. Now, let me zoom in and show you how the antler would be used. Okay, extreme close-up. So, we have our edge sanded. You see the center line. And the idea is to take the tip of an antler, press it against the very edge, press in and down, and to snap off a flake. Okay, so you heard that. We've got a pretty good little flake scar started. Let me go next to the one I just took off. Okay, so that's a deer antler. Okay, if you look very carefully, here's a flake scar, here's a flake scar using the deer antler. Now let's see if that leg bone will work. What I've discovered with this leg bone is like there's a sweet spot. So it's going to be one of the ends. And this spot right here, believe it or not, that seems to be the best I can use out of this leg bone. Okay, so again, see this little point right here under my thumbnail? That's what I'm going to try to get on that edge and break a flake off. Okay, that was actually an outstanding flake. Went almost all the way to the middle. Look at, see that divot? Man, it's got some force behind it. Okay, let's try it again. Oh, nice. I kind of like that better than the antler in some regards. Look at, those are the past two flakes. Man. Well, let's keep going and test our luck, huh? I think the reason this has better leverage. Man, you hear that? When it snaps, that's good. Yeah, look at these flakes. Here. Look at these flakes. Look at what's going on with the edge. Yeah, it's going in. It's working. So I'm going to keep going around. Let's come back up here. It also grips really well. Look at that. It grips really well too. So let's try it more towards the base end. The base is usually thicker, which means harder to work. Now this bone's not going to last forever. It does wear down. I can smell it, actually. Yeah, that's good. Okay, here's a pretty big one. Can you see that? Big platform right there. Now, in all the time, man, that took off a nice flake. All the time I've been flint knapping, all the books I've read, websites I've seen, I have never seen any mention of using the deer metacarpal bone for flint knapping. But it is working. It is absolutely working. Yeah. Yeah. I am surprised. You hear that? Those are good flakes. When it's a high crack, okay, that was not. That's just crushing. Let's go this way. Yeah. It's actually flint knapping. Look at that. All right, let me give it another couple spins. I'll be right back. Okay, super crude, like I told you. Still haven't cleared that face, but you see I've got it roughly bi-faced, so I've got a bevel on each side. Now, let's try to go in for the final shaping and flint knapping, pressure flaking. So I'm going to go this way. Again, this could be a piece of flint, dacite, obsidian, same idea. I just wanted to try this for proof of concept. So here's our bone. And let's see. All right, so let me show you again. Zoom in. Okay. So right here, right there, that little point is what I'm using. There's probably some anatomical term for it, but I also found kind of rolling sideways works. There you go. Okay, come on. There we go. I'm so worried about breaking this. Okay, it's just crushing. Oh, that was a good one. Okay. Even though it's just kind of crushing, I mean, make a nice serrated edge that way. Now, coming up here on the tip, you know, tips are always really finicky. I'm probably going to break off the very, very, very end of it deliberately because it's bent the wrong way. Yeah, you hear how you can grind it on its side. You can grind it like this. Yeah. That actually works freaking great. Now, look at what that just did. Oh man. So the center line is getting straighter, and that's really sharp. Look at it. I'm impressed. All right, I'm gonna just shape this a little better and come back. Obviously, it takes a lot more time. Just roughly making an arrowhead with a deer bone. And it's not the prettiest arrowhead I've ever made. That flat face is still on there, but let's look at the center line. Center line is doing pretty well. I got a really nice point, I think. Really nice point considering how big and clumsy this tool is. Then the center line goes and we're pretty thin. Now, what do you think? Some type of notches? Now the easiest thing, trust me, would be to just come in, go down. Why don't I just bring it in like the cursor on a computer screen? Yeah, okay, let's do that. That way I don't have to worry so much about breaking it. So, get our trusty little deer leg bone. And really, this is really just going to be crushing. So, get it on there. Yeah, just crush it. Because it doesn't need to be sharp, right? This part doesn't need to be sharp. And it only needs to just fit into a shaft. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. All right, so you see. All right, this is brand new for me. Never did this until yesterday. I tried it out, and I said, I think I can make it work. I can make a video. All right. Yeah, all I'm doing is almost tapering it down. You'll see what I mean here in just a sec. Yeah, you see how I'm just kind of tapering that edge down? And if you've seen my other videos, you know usually I do much prettier work than this, but I'm telling you, slip that into a shaft, zip it off a bow, you know, at a couple 100 feet per second, and I would not want to be on the receiving end of this. Okay, folks, I'm going to call this done. And I'll twist it around slowly so you can see it. Again, not the prettiest thing in the world, but considering the materials used, that's about as simple as you can get. Yeah, I might actually fit this into an arrow and just try shooting it. Yeah, here's a view straight on. What do you think? All right, let me know if you have any more requests. Thanks for watching.